coffee dreams and custard creams. Nice warm tea, we can feel stress-free. Soft voices and a lot of laughs. It's the Mundane Podcast.
Hello there. My name is Chris, and I'm here today with my friend Dave.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about some mundane stuff today and just have a chat and hang out because we live far away and we want to stay close, and we thought we'd bring you in for the ride. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, I like the way you say that, and I want to be on the ride. We're driving the ride, so we are on the ride. But
I like it, yeah, because I really want. Yeah, I need to find like a nice standard intro that really summarizes what this is. But I think we're still finding our feet, so I don't feel too bad yet. But I feel like I'll find a new. If someone's listening to this and they're going back through the episodes, maybe they're like, "Oh, this is before he found that opening line."
Because we're letting people into a window into our conversations, which are just 9 times out of 10 gold, really.
That's what we're thinking. You know,
so we need some opinions.
Maybe not. Please don't text it. Please, I can't take any more. No, because I think because obviously also that's the stereotype, isn't it? Is that everyone's got a podcast. Everyone's like, it's just me hanging out with my mates. But we do it a bit differently here. We keep finding. I want to keep finding subjects of the mundane for us to kind of posit, think, ponder upon. And this week, Dave, what would you call this?
Applause.
Well done, Dave.
Were you waiting for me to say clapping?
I was. Do you know what? I was. It was 50-50. I was like, is he going to say clapping? Is he going to go like syncopation? Or is he going to do something like that? And I was like, no, he knows. So today, Dave, we're going to be talking about applause.
Good.
I found quite a nice article on theatre in Paris. Why are we clapping? A history of applause. So I thought that was quite a nice starting point. So this is from this article. But first of all, before we get to that, how would you define applause?
Right. Well, to start with, I'll address your trick question because, you know, if I said clapping, that was literally what you were doing. But the way you were doing it suggested applause. Because applause doesn't have to be clapping. Applause, for me, is an audience showing their appreciation to the performer. But that performer and that audience doesn't necessarily literally have to be a performer or an audience, because you might be in a conversation with someone and tell a funny joke and somebody might laugh, and that for me is a form of applause as well.
So you call that applause? To me, applause is like it has to be more than one person. One person is clapping. Yeah. I'm clapping you on. I'm clapping to that joke. I'm clapping to that comment you said. But applause is like if there's 2 people, then you receive applause.
Okay. So
literally everything that I've looked, it doesn't define it as like over a crowd, because a crowd can applause. Crowd applause taken at this, but does a single person applause or does a single person clap? But then when multiple, that's when it becomes applause.
When a single person claps, it sounds sarcastic.
It sounds, I suppose it's the speed. That's the thing. So that was one of the things I wanted us to talk about, was that it's a thing that fascinates me, is that a slow clap, that's sarcastic.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, that's...
I've actually done a sarcastic fast clap before, though, to be fair. No, not faster, just like, I probably have combined it with words and gone, well done, or something like that.
See, but yeah, okay, so remove the well done, though, and that just sounds like applause. That just sounds like clapping.
It does, yeah.
It's the well done. So, like, but somehow, just the speed that is somehow, you can tell just by the speed in which your hands strike together. I've found an article called The History of Applause.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through this and just have a think of what these guys are saying. Okay, so this is from theatreinparis.com. Some have said that clapping is like high-fiving yourself in a positive response to something that someone else has done. I don't know how I feel about that statement at the start.
It sounds like they're trying to make something more complicated out of something very simple.
Because it's not really high-fiving yourself, is it? Like,
no.
Is it? Because almost the power of a high five is being able to, like, hit the high five.
Yeah.
It's almost like a low-risk gamble. It's like, oh, are we going to do it? Yeah. We're a team. We're together.
Yeah. That is a separate entire thing to applause.
Seals clap. Seals don't high five.
No, they don't. That we know of.
I tell you what, I'm gonna Google high-fiving seals after this, though.
Bet there's a video somewhere.
Yeah, this article is written with such authority, I literally challenge everything it says. Clapping is the most common sound that we as humans use without our vocal cords.
No, I'm not having that. I think I fart more than
I was going to say I'm 95% sure I fart before. I've sometimes clapped at my own farts. I haven't, but that would be really funny. I have sometimes clapped someone else's fart though, like if it was particularly like noteworthy.
Yeah, I probably have. I think I've also farted and clapped at the same time before, just by coincidence. Like I'm clapping something and I farted.
But is that what
is
to
the
cover
fart
the
part of the applause?
Is the fact that's what I mean? Is it like a bass? Is it the bass note of applause?
Well, if I'm in an audience and it's a quiet moment, like someone's playing a violin piece or a piano sonata or something, and I've got a fart brewing, and it could be a silent one, but you can feel the pressure. It's a sizable fart, but some sizable farts are silent, but I don't want to risk it. So I'll wait till the piece ends and everyone's clapping, and then I'll do it.
There's applause, yeah. Although sometimes I do find if you do fart while there is applause going on, it does sometimes feel like they are applauding your fart. Like,
oh yeah, there is that as well, actually.
It's
yeah.
like, oh wow, we're so happy to be here. So we do it as a social gesture to show approval and admiration in groups, crowds, or by ourselves. So I made the joke about clapping at my own farts. I don't think I've ever clapped at myself, except once again, maybe to be sarcastic.
You give yourself a pat on the back, as they say. And even that always felt weird when they're like, give yourself a pat on the back. I'd be like, I don't do that.
I don't do that. Why would I do that?
You clap me.
Yeah,
now.
The same as a high five. Like a pat on the back is like somewhat. It's like a high impact hug. It's like, yeah, well done.
Yeah,
that's like the pat on the back. It's like, yeah, well done. I'm here for you. You know, if someone just puts their hand on the shoulder, it's like, hey, that's like a half hug. Not a half hug, I suppose that's from the side. It's a quarter hug.
Yeah,
patting someone on the back is like a 10th hug. It's just like, because that's the sound of someone patting the back. Popping bubbles
that's
on the way.
Our backs beg, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. As we get older, just... But no, so this sentence, yeah, it really bothers me. We do it as a social gesture to show approval and admiration in groups, crowds, or by ourselves. I would posit that groups and crowds are the same thing, but maybe not actually. No, I remove that. I retract that statement. Or by ourselves.
A crowd is probably more people than a group.
Yeah, I agree. And then it goes, and more so in the setting of being presented with something like a show or performance. So it says that basically the way that it's said, though, is that we clap all the time, but more often than not in a show or performance. I think, would you say that's fair? We definitely clap at shows and performances.
Yeah, yes. My issue is we clap all the time. I can't actually remember the last time I clapped.
Yeah, no, especially in the past year we've had.
Yeah, the past year does affect that. I haven't been to many shows.
No.
At all.
And have you clapped at yourself? Have you done anything that's particularly clap at yourself worthy?
I don't clap myself.
No, same.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I clapped. But there's other contexts, like some in your workplace, somebody might get a promotion and they announce it in front of everyone or something. I mean, I've never been at a workplace like that. Thank God.
Yes, you have. We've worked in a workplace like that.
Oh wait, we have actually. Yeah,
we have. We absolutely have.
Yeah. There were claps in those meetings, weren't there?
Yeah, me and Dave used to work in a school together, and that's absolutely. We've absolutely had people that have gotten like, oh, well done, they've been promoted. Yay! Yeah.
Did I get clapped when I left?
No, just banners, cheering, screaming. Yay! Yeah. Did you know, Dave, that the average speed of our claps ranges from 2.5 to 5 claps per second?
5 a second? Who claps that fast?
One. Yeah, maybe. Who the hell claps?
I reckon I do 2 to 3 a second or something.
Yeah, maybe 2 to 3, which is about the average, yeah. Apparently clapping is recognised through every culture in the world, which makes sense. But one of the things I did want to bring up was like, yeah, we used to work in a school together, and we worked at quite a lot of school concerts.
They're quite clappy.
They were very clappy, and that was where I learned from you the proper way to clap. Because obviously, especially going to a lot of concerts, especially school concerts, like you go to a gig and they play like 12 songs, you clap in 12 times. Some of the school concerts we had, there'd be like 24 performances, you know, maybe more. And, you know, maybe there'd be like a solo in the middle of a band. So you'd have to clap way more than at least what I was used to when we were working together.
Yeah.
And
your
I
hands
would
getting sore.
Exactly. Hands would get sore and I would clap like a seal, basically. Just hands like I'm doing like the audience will be able to tell the difference. Like they're just going to hear clap sounds, possibly even just peaks on the microphone. But like the kind of, just imagine hands open palmed, high-fiving myself is literally probably the best description actually to come back to that.
Palm to palm.
Palm to palm.
Fingers to fingers. Like you're going to pray.
Like you're going to pray, but really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you taught me the proper way, the effective way to clap, which is like top part of one hand into the palm of the next hand.
Yeah.
And then, so you do it differently now. So that was a different clap. This is for the audience at home. Dave just clapped his hands differently. So now we've already reached a precipice of different kinds of claps. So I was referring to so imagine your fingers going to your palm. That is fingers to palm. I'm clapping that. I'm trying to hope that the sound is like, that is fingers to palm. This is high five. Let me go through the three claps.
Go through them.
Okay. So this is high fiving myself. Here is fingers against palm. And here is how Dave claps, which is like cupping the hands in on itself, isn't it? Almost like it's making a ball in those split seconds. Oh, that's a bassy clap as well. That does sound different. So we've got the bassy cup clap, hands against palm, which has got like a nice spring sound.
Yeah,
and then like the seal clap, high-fiving yourself. Which also has a nice kind of, that's probably the mid. That's got a lot of middle sounds.
Yeah.
Covers the whole range. But the problem is you can't do that for a long time. Your hands hurt after a while. Yeah. So then like that is probably the perfect clap sound.
It probably is.
Actually, it's got a bit of bass, bit of mid range, bit of high, like that. But fingers against palm, bit more mid, not as much high. And then like the cup hands is just all bass. This is the subwoofer dubstep. Like it doesn't penetrate as hard into your ears of like that kind of clap. But once again, like you need to kind of be able to maintain the amount of clap. So sometimes we used to do this. I don't know if you remember when we used to work together. We used to have different, dependent on the kinds of performances, you'd have like the polite clap, the like, wow, well done. And then sometimes it's like, this deserves a... And I would actually posit that the cup hand clap is the clap in films where like that one guy then stands up and he's like, because he's always got that very confident hands cupping in each other clap. If it looked like a little, golf clap or something like that, it doesn't work. It's like, and then everyone else stands up and it's like, it doesn't really work. I just find it very interesting. There's a lot more layers to these clapping. Do you remember what else we used to do when we would clap certain performances?
I remember there was something we did.
What we used to do, we used to try and clap in time signatures.
That's it.
Because we were nerds. We used to try and clap in different time signatures around each other or clap in different rhythms to try and sync it. And it would almost be like a little drum solo with our hands. Just like bum, 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 bum.
Well, it is a very musical thing, clapping. Obviously it's used in a lot of songs. But then, that's not applause, that's clapping.
Applause is a form of clapping. All applause contains clapping, but not all clapping is applause.
Well, does all applause contain clapping? Here's the thing, right? Because this is why I said good when you said that this week's episode is about applause. Because I actually had a midweek thought doing my day job, and it just popped into my head, and it was hip hip, hooray! Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When was the last time you heard anyone do that?
Yeah, quite a while.
All the time in primary school.
Yeah.
Do kids still do that in primary school?
Hip hip.
I would like to know that.
I would like to know that. Right in.
And is that applause?
And is that applause? I would. No. And here's why. Applause is clapping.
Yeah.
But you do have the word that I was looking for, and I've just quickly checked it, is ovation. So ovation is when a crowd expresses great enjoyment, and that often contains clapping, but also that
Oh, okay, yeah, and a standing ovation.
That is an ovation versus clapping, because once again, if I'm listening to Like, let's say, we listen to those we listen to a live show and all we hear is woo, yeah, woo. That's not applause.
That's cheering.
That's cheering. That's ovation, which is all. So I suppose it goes like there is ovation at the top. An ovation contains applause, cheering, yelling, whooping.
Yeah. Stamping.
Stamping. Yeah, the stamp.
Yeah, people do that.
But does stamping count as applause?
I think it probably does.
I think it probably does as well.
In the football, when someone scores, sometimes people celebrate by stamping on the stand. I don't know if you can hear that, but
yeah, boom, 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 boom,
yeah.
boom, boom. Or is that just ovation? Is that just like another celebration?
I feel like there is some crossover.
I can hear the applause. Boom, 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 boom. Foot sound, foot sound, foot sound. That's not applause.
Doesn't sound applausy.
Applause.
Yeah.
Like, we were unsure whether a single clap is applause. A single foot stomp is not applause.
Okay, I think I've cracked it just now in my head.
Okay,
right?
go.
Because there's a timeline here, right? So, Jamie Vardy scores a goal. All the Leicester fans jump up and celebrate. Stamping in the stands. One thing they're not doing, though, pretty sure, unless they're like losers or something, and they don't know how to go to football, is clap. You don't really see people clapping a goal. You might see some opposition fans clapping Jamie Vardy's goal.
But do you get applause in football? Is football something you often see applause for?
Yeah, because then Jamie Vardy, he's getting on a bit now. He's subbed off at 70 minutes. His legs are a bit tired. And the crowd stand and give him an ovation. And they clap then when he leaves the pitch.
Yeah, they give him applause then, yeah, but not when they score a goal. When they score a goal,
it
they
doesn't
cheer. Or the crowd goes wild.
Yeah, they're not actually applauding the goal. They're celebrating.
Celebrating the goal. The point increase, I suppose, as a sometimes, yeah. But they do in tennis. In tennis, they give applause, don't they? In tennis, if there's a particularly good shot, they're like, And let's not forget, what's the most famous one? The golf clap. It's got its own clap.
Yeah,
that's like a little. But is that applause? Is a golf clap applause? I would posit that it probably is. But it's its own special kind of applause, isn't it? It's like a golf clap sign. Because, if someone was like, oh, they performed really well. We've watched an artist on stage and they performed really well. And actually, but then like maybe they said something nasty afterwards. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to give you a polite golf clap because I like the performance, but now you're a bit of I'm a horrible person. So I'm going to give you a polite golf clap. That's polite. It's showing like what you did is good, but like I'm not going to celebrate. But I suppose in golf, I have seen cheering at golf, but not much. And also I don't watch enough golf to really know. Answers on a postcard, please. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't. That's really it. So, but I would definitely, I would posit that it's like a polite applause. But then arguably, applause in itself, should it be polite? Because there's almost same as cheer. It's almost like a visceral thing, isn't it? A good applause is when everyone's like, oh my God, yeah, that was, people are just like, what you did was good. That's applause. That's just like polite golf clap applause. But you want the applause where it's like, oh, where did that come from? Like that. That's the applause we all crave, isn't it? Surely.
Well, I suppose there's levels of applause.
That's the ovation. Well, they have clapometers, don't they? Applause is measured in clapometers. That's what they use to, like, those big arrows. It is measured in clapometers, not applausometers. There must be applausometers as well.
And of course, sometimes there's those lights that actually light up saying applause.
Yeah.
On those live TV shows.
Yeah, it doesn't go clap.
I would not be applauding. No one tells me when to applause.
Yeah, and when the applause light comes on, they clap. They don't bang their feet. They
clap.
They clap. Maybe they do whoop and holler.
So it's a strong case for applause being clapping.
Applause comes from Latin, which is applaudere. Applaudere? I'm so sorry, people that know how they speak Latin. Applaudere, which means to strike upon or to clap. So the actual word applause comes from the word clap.
Right.
Case closed, I suppose.
If it's Latin, it's got to be true.
But there is a plot twist here. On the Wikipedia page, once again, it's Wikipedia, so obviously take it with a pinch of salt. But it goes, the age of the custom of applauding is uncertain, but is widespread among human cultures. The variety of its forms is limited only by the capacity for devising means of making a noise. For example, stomping of feet, rapping of fists or hands on the table.
Yeah.
Once again, I've seen that, like Romans, like brr, brr, Vikings, brr, brr, hand on table. But I would say that's not applause. That's not applause.
Or after wedding speeches when
After
everyone's
weddings.
a bit drunker.
Yeah, that's not applause, I would say. That's an ovation, definitely.
Yeah.
But not an applause. I think ovation contains all of these things. But like once again, applause seems to be... So let's keep going. We're moving past. Let's move past definitions now. Let's go back to the history article about the history of clapping. Taking it way back to 6th century BC, lawmaker, oh my goodness, Cleisthenes of Athens. I'm so sorry if anyone knows how that's pronounced and is angry at me. Please don't write me an angry postcard. Made it so that audiences would have to clap in approval of their leader, since there were too many people to meet individually. So it's like, I want to hug you all, but like, just clap instead. Put your hands together instead. Through this came the applause, the unified voices of all these people in the form of clapping together in admiration. A few hundred years later, in the 4th century BC, came the clacker. The clacker was a person who was hired by theatres and shows to clap, cry or laugh at the right moments in order to influence the audience's reactions. I would posit now, we still have them, but they're called mums and best friends.
Yes.
We're like, come on, yeah! That when we did some school concerts, sometimes there would be a kid and like they would do it and like clearly no one would go to clap. We'd be like, no, everyone deserves a clap, especially going out on stage.
Do. Yeah.
And sometimes, people can be a bit too polite or they're too scared. It's like, no, we're going to start the clap. You deserve the clap. You don't deserve the clap. You deserve the applause. You deserve that ovation.
If their performance wasn't very good,
yeah.
If they're a kid, I will clap them harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
They probably knew they weren't very good, but they still went on stage and did it. And I clap that. I applaud that.
Especially in school concerts, if it's an open mic night and there's a balding 45-year-old man that goes on and sings a horribly racist song, wondering why nobody's laughing, I probably wouldn't give him a clap.
Even if it wasn't racist, if it was just rubbish.
If it was rubbish,
I'd be like...
No, if it was rubbish, I'd give a golf clap. I'd give a golf clap to
yeah.
Because I'd be like, you know what, you're still trying and you're not
trying.
Offending anybody. Because I suppose I'd want that. I'd want it to be at least an acceptance of like, you tried.
Yeah.
Good for trying.
Yeah. God loves a trier, as do the clappers.
Yeah, exactly. In the 4th century Athens, competition was fierce between comedians, and clackers became a common way to sway the decision of judges and be awarded best performance. So they literally had clapper meters. In the Roman Empire, the practice of using applause to influence was applied to politics, and clackers were found in both courts of law and private art demonstrations. Roman Emperor Nero even established a school of applause with a clack of thousands of knights and soldiers following his concert tours. So he'd literally have people that were paid to be like, yeah, well done, mate. Because that's how they speak in Roman times. Well done, mate. Clapping history has a unique role in France and French venues as well. In 18th century France, a claque had a strong presence as an organised body of professional applauders and influencers. In the classical term of influencers, I don't think they're all on Instagram in the 18th century France. Continually used in theatres to influence audiences, with the clackers often paid by the production and the actors of a play in free tickets. Once again, normally taken over by mums and best friends now.
Yeah.
The whole affair was quite organised, with certain clackers assigned to laugh loudly during comedic portions, others to shed a tear for melancholic performance, and even clackers designated to comment their appreciation of a play or speech to fellow audience members. Which one do you think you'd be? Would you be one of the people that's like, ha ha ha, or like crying, or would you be the one that's like, that was really good? Don't you think that was really good?
I'd be a laugher, I think.
What? Give me your best laugh. How would you sound?
Well, this is a problem. What if a bit's not funny? I have to force a laugh.
You're paid. That's what you are paid for, Dave. You are paid.
I'm going to be good at forcing a laugh.
You've got to be good at forcing a laugh. That's what I mean. Would you be a clapper? Because, you can cry. If you're a crier, think about it. If the performance is bad, you can cry out of embarrassment for them. You can cry out of sadness that this is what your life has come to. You can cry, maybe the performance is good and you can cry. Or you just think about like the ending of Old Yeller. But to laugh loudly at something that isn't funny, but that is your job to do.
I still would find that easier than forcing crying, I reckon.
I'll do a bad joke. Okay, so I'm on stage. Hello everybody, this is me, my name is Chris. Yeah, I'm watching you, clackers. Okay, so I was driving down the street the other day and this car was just like constantly going forwards and backwards and all around on the road. And I was like, who is this tool? So I drove up to him to get a good look at him and I realised it wasn't just a driver, it was a screwdriver.
Hey! Woo!
Oh, the woo! I like the woo.
Get the woo in at the end, you know.
That's a good comedy. That's a good comedy addition. Woo! At the end, yeah. I like it. I always get annoyed at them when I watch stand-up comedy shows because it's almost like, woo, it's me, remember me. But like, I like that. That was good. That made me feel good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So would I be a good clacker?
I think you'd be quite a good clacker. Let me find an even worse joke.
All right.
Oh, I need to make up one now, don't I? Okay, so
I'll try and do a different laugh as well this time.
Oh, so I was walking down the street the other day, and I was really hungry, and then all of a sudden I saw this puppy lying out sunbathing, and I was like, "Wow, I must be hungry because that looks like a hot dog."
I've never done that type of laugh before.
I was going to say, like,
people do that, though.
That sounded a bit too much for what that joke was worth. I think part of the clacker training would have to be like, right, how much laughter does this joke deserve?
That's the inward laughing.
You know, maybe like an edgy joke. It's like, oh,
I think that there's a sketch in this, like, or even a whole film, and it's about the clacker.
The clacker
who was not very good at his job.
A clacker who's not very good at his job.
At the wrong moments and laughed at the sincere sad moments, but he still kept getting the gig for some reason.
Okay.
Because I don't know why.
Okay, so how does this film open? Jacka Clacker. How does this open?
Jacko Clacker.
Jacka Clacker opens. There's a performance. There is William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. It's being performed.
Yeah, and there's a really
Juliet dies.
It's gonna start in a bit where Juliet dies, and actually, right, it's gonna start and there'll be a crying clacker in the audience, and they'll do their cry. And I'm like, okay, what's this about? Yeah, but then it cuts, and it's like 7 years later or something like that.
Why is it in an American voice?
It's always American.
What when the title? Do you read every title in a film when it goes 5 years earlier? Do you read that as 5 years earlier?
Sometimes I kind of do in a way, yeah. Maybe most of the time I don't think I have a voice.
I always read it really neutrally. It's like 5, or in the SpongeBob voice.
Probably depends on the font.
Yeah,
you know.
In the I sometimes read it in the SpongeBob voice if it's written, you know, like 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's like 5 seconds later. I don't know why a film would say 5 seconds later, but there you go.
Because this sort of film would first establish what.
Oh, so it shows the correct clacker.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it goes, okay, then it's the net. No. Okay, so it opens with the clack. And then, like, you know, William Shakespeare's like, well done, you did really well. And I'm like, thank you. And then he goes to walk out and he just gets stabbed. Oh! And he's like bleeding out. Yeah. And this guy runs up to him and he's like laughing at this guy dying in his arms. He's like, what's wrong? And he's like, oh my God, I have a family. Please, you need to take over my job. Please. And William Shakespeare needs a good clacker. You just need to cry out the right scenes. But the guy is just like, ha 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 ha. Oh no, please don't die. Ha 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 ha. No. Ha ha ha. He's like, please. Sad music plays. No. He's like, ha 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 ha. Woo-hoo-hoo. And then, like, yeah, and it cuts to like the next day. William Shakespeare's like there and he's like crying in the mirror and he goes, Billy died yesterday. Because that's the name, Billy.
He was my best clacker.
He was my best clacker. He's the best clacker I've ever had.
No one can clack like
Billy.
No
one can clack like Billy, but then
that's what the film's called, Clack Like Billy.
Clack like Billy. But you, Jacker. Like, so yeah, he's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And then William Shakespeare comes out and he's like, no, Billy. And he's crying and he's like, ha, 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 ha. And William Shakespeare's like, I can use this. Yes. And he goes, Jacker, you must come with me. And then, like, William Shakespeare's like, right, the next play I'm writing is a comedy, Taming of the Shrew, right? He's like, okay, so you need to come in and you need to, you know, laugh. I need that laugh in my audience for this horribly sexist play that I'm going to put on. And he's like, okay. And he goes in And then Taming of the Shrew comes on. And it's like, what's going on, honey? I'm going to abuse you until you love me. And it cuts to him. And he's like,
Yeah.
And there's like a montage, and it happens over scene by
Over
scene
and over
by
again.
scene. And it's just like, and then it would be like Macbeth. Then it would be like, and he's like down, he's going, and then like the ending of Hamlet, you know, like sleep well, Prince. What is it? Farewell, sweet Prince. No, what? Summer sweet. Oh goodness,
Something like that. I don't know Hamlet.
Night Hamlet, and he's just like
So yeah, that's like Act 1, then, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, and at this point where Shakespeare, he's got like a big beard now. His like ruffles are like 5 times the size, and he's like, I need to find another clacker.
But he can't, because for some reason...
Yeah, and he's like, I need to get rid of him. And he's like, Jacker's overhearing this, and he goes, I need to get rid of him. Let's get the guy that stabbed him before. And he's like, no, stabbed him before. And then he realises there's a flashback, and Jacker realises that William Shakespeare was actually trying to kill him and accidentally killed Billy or something. That's the plot twist.
Yeah, maybe. But does the clacker ever learn? Does he go to clacker college or
no?
anything
And then
like
what happens is he doesn't realise that until midway through a tragedy. Midway through Romeo and Juliet, the scene that we saw at the start of the film. Midway through, he all of a sudden, like the flashbacks, like in Fight Club, like, and he realizes it was Shakespeare all along. And he's there, and he's just like, I thought he was my friend. And then it's like,
And then he cries.
And it's like, Romeo. And everyone like starts slowly turning. Because that's what happens, yeah. Shakespeare becomes jealous because people start wanting to see Jacker the Clacker more than the actual plays, because his laughs and cries were so powerful. But they're waiting because it's so funny of how inappropriate it is. And then literally there's a moment where like, it's like, she's like, oh no, maybe I can suck the poison out. And it's just like he's there and he's crying and he's like crying. And then it's just like the camera pans along to Jacker and they're like, oh, here he comes. He's going to laugh. And then like Shakespeare's like, oh, and he's like sharpening his knife, like shing, shing, no more. And then Jacker realizes and he starts to weep. Just. And there's like a silence. It's like the moment. And the actors at this point are way used to like hearing Jacker being
they're expecting a laugh.
So they're expecting a laugh.
They've even delivered the lines to make the laugh more appropriate.
Wake up, Juliet. And then it's just, wake up. Oh no, the love of my life, the light of my soul has died. And there's just like a moment and they're waiting. And it's just. The orchestra swells. And then the audience start going, like looking at him. And then they start looking at the scene of Romeo and Juliet. And then the actors at this point, who have been adapting this whole time, have now started like playing it more serious. And he's like, and then he dies. Wait, who dies first? No, he thinks Juliet's dead, doesn't he? And then he kills himself. And he's like, I'm going to die now. And he dies. And Jack's like, still. And then like Juliet wakes up, she's like, oh no, what have you done? What have you done? And like she realizes because he's crying, that's like doing it, and it's like the most moving performance. It's Meryl Streep, the most moving performance, and just the whole audience. And Shakespeare's like hing 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 with his knife, and he just like looks and he sees like this audience crying. And the camera like pans along to Jacker, and he's like, and then just like the play ends, and then there's just like Shakespeare. No, that's it. Shakespeare's still sharpening his knife. He doesn't realize he doesn't realize that they're crying at this point. He's just sharpening that. Shing, shing, shing. He gets his balaclava that he wore last time, and all of a sudden he hears a. And then
the most rapturous applause ever heard.
And like Shakespeare like turns and he looks, and he just like looks out into the audience, and that like they're bowing, and they go like, come on, Shakespeare, and he like hides the knife behind his back, and he walks out on stage, and he sees there just Jacker like crying, and it was like the biggest applause ever. And just like he looks at Jacker, and Jacker's like crying, like looking really hurt and betrayed. And Shakespeare looks at him and gives him a nod. And it does that freeze frame on Shakespeare's face, like, ah. And it freeze frames on his face, smiling.
And then he go then for the very, very end.
And the credits roll. This is the post credits. So the credits have rolled.
Yeah.
And then
he goes up to Jacker, and Jacker kneels down next to him, and Shakespeare goes, "That'll do, Jacker, pig." That'll do.
And then meanwhile, Dick King Smith is like walking past, and he's like, "I like that." And then his wife at the time says, "What was that, babe?" And he goes,
"Yeah,
that's what I'll call it." And that's how it ends. It was the whole time, the plot, the Marvel post-credit sequence was that it was in fact the prequel to Babe. It was the origin story to Babe.
We should. People are going to steal this. We'll have
and
to
you know
put it out the episode.
Let's get to the Globe Theatre and go out and do that. But so with that, everybody, I suppose it's an important thing to just remember that applause comes in many shapes and sizes. It's very important, I think, sometimes to offer that support, and it's such an easy, universal language of support and admiration for someone, especially a performer, putting themselves out there, putting themselves in a vulnerable position, hopefully to entertain, engage, and do all of that. So I think an applause as a universal way of saying, I appreciate what you did. Good effort.
Yeah.
You know, or putting in a lot of hard effort. You know, like I said, same as clapping when a player leaves. Even with a good golf swing, people are like, good effort. Well done. And I think we as a society, especially now more than ever, should give each other a bit more of applause.
Yeah.
Now and then. Maybe
applaud podcasts. Applaud podcasts. You know?
Don't crash your car. If you're listening to this in your car, don't applaud. Subscribe.
That's your form of applause for us.
Dave, I was giving a serious note. It's important.
No, yeah, I know. Your serious note is very sincere, and I agree.
You know what? Actually, we talked about this, and I was trying to wrap it up, but actually we could, like, the applause for nurses, I suppose. That was the doctors and nurses applause, clap the NHS. Like, that was coming from that. And actually, that is a good example of, like, you know, there was a lot of respect and a lot of kindness given. But I think sometimes, you know, you need more than applause.
Yeah.
In supporting
pay rise.
Those groups. So sometimes an applause isn't enough. So the ending to this has just completely fallen apart. I was trying to find a really nice, sincere way. It wasn't your fault. And then I started thinking about the clap for the NHS, and I was like, no, that's not enough. You know, for a performer putting themselves out there on stage, being vulnerable, putting a lot of time and effort in, that is something. I think when it comes to performance and public speaking, I think it's very important to offer that just slight appreciation of well done.
Yeah, acknowledgement that they've done something, they've put themselves out there.
Exactly. But people who are working their bloody bums off, trying to help the world and make it a better place and trying to heal and deal with so much difficulty in the world, I don't think an applause is enough.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how fast those claps are.
No.
You could do 5 a second, they're still sounding sarcastic.
Exactly. So, absolutely. So I think on that note, everybody, help pay for the NHS more.
Yeah, and choose your applause carefully.
Carefully.
So many different kinds of clap, you know.
And don't be scared to start an applause. Don't be scared to start an applause.
I love starting the applause.
Me too.
I love being the first clap.
Starting a good applause. Like I said, especially just think about those people that are performing. And I think sometimes when people are really scared, like, I think that tacit agreement of, like, well done. Like, I'm proud of you.
I've got one thing that you should try if you haven't already, because I've done it before. You start the clap with your, then you just stop.
Oh, okay.
Because then it feels like you're like, and then everyone's like doing your bidding, and it's like, I made that happen. And you can stop, and then the applause kind of becomes for you as well. That's how you can steal an applause from somebody else.
Well, once again, I tried ending this on a happy note, but I suppose, you know, Dave's top tip for stealing applause, I think, is probably also a good way of doing it. We didn't even cover, like, when we used to clap as students in an assembly and there was always, like, a race to hit the last clap.
Oh, yeah. Like,
that was always,
the clap would just, like, go on. And
that was my favourite.
Like,
that was my favourite game. That was my, yeah. And
it was great.
That was great. You know, remixing that appreciation in just for being a child that's making themselves feel big and important. It's brilliant. I love it. But so that's the thing with this. I suppose that's as good a point as any, Dave. Just remember, you know, clap your friends. Applaud people putting themselves out there and being vulnerable, because it's very hard. And I think we all need to just accept each other a bit more. I'm trying to bring it back. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to bring it back.
Tolerance.
Accept tolerance. Accept
Belonging.
belonging.
I'm just going to say good words now.
Accept each other a bit more. Accept that really loud car that just drove past. Accept each other a bit more. A bit more. Give each other an applause. Imagine everything you do, people just applauding, wishing you well, and start wishing everyone else well, and maybe, just maybe, we'll make a world a better place. So Dave, I love you.
I love you too, man.
And I love you, audience, for listening, and I hope this was a good time. And here is me and Dave signing off by giving you an applause.
Sister Monday podcast.